In this video, I'm going to show you 4 more problems, practice problems of solving a system of equations by substitution. And so what I want to do is just first explain that one of your equations needs to be solved for one of your 2 variables. And my first function is solved for y. And so what I'm going to end up doing is plugging this first equation into the y of the second equation. And that's your first step of substitution. Now, if one of your variables isn't pre-solved, notice in this one it's not, you're going to have to start by solving for one of the letters, and I'll show you in another problem there. But this one happens to be pre-solved for us, and so again, I'm going to take this expression and plug it into the y of the other equation. So if y is negative 4x plus 2, and I sub this into the y of the other function, it would look like this. X minus y, which I know is this, negative 4x plus 2. Then I'll set that equal to here, negative 17, and I can solve for my letter x. So because I have to use parentheses when I use substitution, I know I'm going to have to distribute this subtract sign here because I want to subtract both a 4x and a 2. Well, subtracting a negative is going to make this an add of a 4x, and subtracting a 2 is just minus 2, and that will equal negative 17. Now I have 2 x's that I'm going to combine together. I have a total of 5 x's, and now what I'm going to do is solve for my x by adding 2 to this side, and my x will be all alone here. Negative 17 plus 2 is negative 15, and now to get my x here isolated and get 1x, I divide both sides by 5, and I get a solution of negative 3. Now I'm not done yet because the whole point is to find a point. Get it? The whole point is to find a point. And so I need to know in my point an x comma y. So I'm going to plug negative 3 back into my original function, my first function. I'm going to plug negative 3 into that x, and I'm going to solve for y. So here we go. If y was equal to negative 4x plus 2, and I plug the value of x now back in, I'll have y equals negative 4 times negative 3 plus 2. So now I'm going to just simplify here. Negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12, and 12 plus 2 is equal to 14. And now I have my x value of my coordinate, I have my y value of my coordinate, and the point is going to look like this. Negative 3 comma 14, where negative 3 was my x, 14 was my y, and this is my solution. Okay, now, like I said over here, I had a problem that had one variable already isolated. And if you have one that's not already isolated, I'm going to show you how to isolate your letter. Look for in your functions a coefficient of 1. And I see that my y has a coefficient of 1. And so what I'm going to do is solve for y here. I'm just going to use this top equation. Solve for y. So if I have 2x minus y equals 3, if I solve for y, I'm going to move my 2x to the other side, and I will have negative y is equal to negative 2x I subtracted plus the 3 that was already on that side. But I don't want negative y, I want 1y, so I'm going to divide everything by negative 1. So here's going to be our y. Y equals 2x, because a negative divided by negative makes us positive. 2 divided by 1 is 2. And 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3. Now I've solved for y for my first function. And what I'm going to do is sub this expression into the y of the other equation. So here it's going to look like this. 3x minus the y that I just solved for equal to 4. I'm going to plug this into that y of this function, the 2x and the minus 3. And now I can solve for my x. I need to multiply this minus sign to my 2x and the minus sign to my negative 3 to start. This will look like 3x minus 2x plus 3 equal to 4. And now I'm going to combine my 2x terms. 3x's minus 2x's gives me 1x plus 3 equal to 4. Now I'll subtract my 3. And my x will be a solution of 1. Now again, I'm not done yet because my solution needs to be a point. And so now I need to plug 1 back into my other equation. So I had been using this second one, now I need to use the first one here. So 2x minus y is equal to 3. I now know the value of x, and I'm going to do substitution again. So actually substitution, you actually kind of do it twice. One to find one variable, and then again to find the other. So here, 2 times 1 minus y will equal 3. And now I can solve for my y. So 2 times 1 is 2. I'll subtract y, and that will get me my 3. To solve for y, I need to subtract the 2 to the other side. And I'll have negative y is equal to, let's see here, 1. Divide by negative 1, and 1 divided by negative 1 is negative 1. So here is my point, my ordered pair. It's always an x comma y. And now I know both of those values. My x I solved for was 1, and the y that I solved for was negative 1. All right, it might be a good idea if you pause the video and try a problem and then watch and see if you got it right, and then you can try again here, pause the video and take a look at this one. So here we go. I need to find in my equation a variable that has 1 as my coefficient, and the x here has a coefficient of 1. So what I'm going to do is solve for my x. So I'm going to subtract the 5y over to the other side. So my x will be alone now, and I'll have 5y that I subtracted over, so I need a negative there, plus the 7 that was already there. Now my other equation is 2x plus 5y equal to 4. Now that I have my x solved for, I'm going to plug this expression into the x of my other equation. So instead it's going to look like this. 2 times what I solved for my x plus the 5y equal to 4. So I'm going to plug that in. That's my first substitution here. Negative 5y plus 7. So now I'm going to solve for y by distributing my 2. So I have negative 10y plus 14 plus the 5y here equals 4. Now I'm going to combine my 2 alike terms. Negative 10y plus 5y is negative 5y plus 14 will equal 4. Now to solve for my y, I'm going to subtract 14 over to this other side of my equal sign. And I'll have negative 5y equals negative 10. And if I divide by negative 5, my solution here is going to be positive 2. Now, I was working with this top equation here, if you notice, the 2, the 5y, and the 4. Now I'm going to use this bottom equation that I have, that I solve for x here, and I'm going to plug my y value back in. So the bottom equation, when I solved for x was equal to negative 5y plus 7. Now here's the second part of my substitution. I'm going to plug the value of y into the equation to find the value of x. So x will equal negative 5 times 2 plus 7, which will end up simplifying here to be negative 10 plus 7, and negative 10 plus 7 is negative 3. So this is my coordinate for x. So my point where the two lines will cross will have an x value. X always comes first here. The value is negative 3, and the y value here is 2. So again, maybe you want to pause the video and try this problem, and after you try it, hit play, and we'll see if you got it right. Hey, welcome back. Okay, my first equation is solved for y, and so what I'm going to do is plug this into the y of the other equation. So all of this is going to go into the y of the second equation. So I'm going to have 2x minus 4, that's what I substituted in for y, will equal now negative x minus 1. Or really, kind of think about it like this. If y equals this expression and y also equals that expression, just put your expressions equal to each other and you can solve for x, because they were both y, so these two have to be the same because they both made the same letter y. Now I don't need my parentheses here, so I'm just going to rewrite this and get rid of those because I don't need to do anything with them like distribute. So now I have x's on both sides, numbers on both sides. I'm going to move my x's to the left side because normally I solve for x equals a number, and so in this case I'm going to add my x. Now here I will have 3x minus 4 is equal to negative 1, and now I'm going to add 4 to the right side. So my 3x will equal 3, and if I divide by that coefficient of 3, I will have x equals 1. So I found one of my values. All right, here we go. Here's 1. Now, I was working with this second equation in this problem because I substituted the first one into the second one. So I'm going to use the top equation now to solve for my value of y. So in this case, y equals my 2x minus 4, and I solved for x. So here's the second part of substitution. I'm going to plug the value for x in to find the value of y. So y will equal now with this second substitution with the value, 1 minus 4. So y equals 2 then minus 4, and y will equal negative 2. So now I know the two values of my point, my x comma y. My x value is 1, and my y value is negative 2. And that is my solution. So just kind of again to refresh, first you substitute an expression to find the value, and the second time you plug in the value to find the other value. So first expression, then the value, and then you'll get both values.